Hey guys, I'm back again with another video. With 2022 wrapping up, I want to give my list of, 5 films that I was very impressed by, and 5 of my favorite films of this year, and 5 that have disappointed me this year, or that didn't live up to its hype whatsoever, as by the name of the title of this video. Now, these are just my opinions. Are a, I have not seen every film that has been released this year. I'm still wanting to see a few films before the end of this year, just so I can give my official ranking, my official top 10 of my favorite films of this year, since we are at a close, and I can't wait to see what 2023 brings to what what the film industry looks like in 2023, because I have no idea. The only film that's coming out next year that I'm very hyped for is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which looks very awesome. But getting into my list, this is in starting with the good films, the films I love this year. Number 5, Del Toro's Pinocchio. This surprised the hell out of me. Now, claymation films, I love it. Coraline, claymation stop motion, Coraline, Box Trolls, Cuba and the Two Strings, great, amazing films. Um, and this film had is a darker tone on the Pinocchio story. Pinocchio was probably one of my least favorite Disney films, but they took the Pinocchio story, made it more heartfelt, darker, and Del Totoro, Del Totoro was definitely the right man to reinvent the story and introduce it to a new audience. And I think there's more of an emotional attachment to all of these characters. I think if this film came out at the beginning of this year or even in the middle, it would have gotten maybe considered for an Oscar nom heading into 2023. But since it came out in the latter of this year, I don't think it's quite possible. But I really enjoyed the hell out of this. Number four, I'm going. Number four, I'm going with the Batman, quite possibly one of the best films of this year. It's an excellent take on the Batman. I love the cinematography, the direction, the score, taking the villains that we have not seen in a while, like Penguin. And I think Matt Reeves did an excellent job reinventing these villains, and putting them on putting them on display for certain comic book lovers who might have missed watching a Penguin or Catwoman or Riddler on the big screen. And I think while a lot of people might not have been a fan of, the Riddler's outfit, I think a, you know, si- making him a Zodiac killer in Gotham was very interesting. And he just happened to be interested in the puzzles, and this is possibly one of the most accurate depictions of Batman in terms of his relationship with Gordon, and his fighting style, and the way Gotham portrays him. And you can tell Matt Reeves definitely did his homework. And I this film actually reminded me a lot of the Arkham video games. It felt like I was playing through the Arkham games and reading the comic book, and it kind of has a lot of the 90s animated feel to it as well. Excuse me. So that's what I really enjoyed about this film. So yeah, number 4 is the Batman. Number three, I'm going. Number three, I'm going to go with Turning Red. Now, Turning Red. Now, Turning Red is story about a Asian girl that lives in Canada. In This is just a story about family. This is just a story about family and you know a connection with a daughter and her her mother, and also overcoming the puberty stage and all that hormones, and that's what they were going for with the big panda, controlling your emotions. She's not in control of her emotions yet, or she's not in when she's not in control of her emotions, she turns into a big panda. And I'm not Asian American, so I was really happy to see everyone else. I I was really happy to see just the Asian community get their own movie like this. And I can't. I'm. I think we need more stories like this within Pixar, or just in general in a kid story that can translate to also a community of a community overall. Kind of, Asian the Asian community has, Turning Red. We have Black Panther, and I think Turning Red was. I think it can be a switch. Well, actually, let me take that back. I actually think that Crazy Rich Asians was kind of a switch, and I don't think without that film it wouldn't have inspired a lot of Asian American directors to create their own stories. So, a Turning Red is phenomenal. There were some controversies with people hating on, there was some controversies on people hating on the story and saying it's trying to be woke, which I really hate that word. But I mean, take it as you will. This film is amazing and I love it. So screw what people say. Turning Red is it has officially become like one of my favorite Pixar films. So forget what everyone else says. So yeah, number three, Turning Red. Number two, I'm going with Nope. And Jordan Peele is a phenomenal director, one of my favorite directors. This film is essentially about the spectacle and how a spectacle and how people are very desperate to get fame and what they're willing to do to achieve it, and people's relationships with animals, and how a lot of times that can be the detriment of people's lives. Like Mike Tyson, at some point, he had three tigers, I believe, and the fact that he's still, you know, nothing bad happened to him is amazing, and the symbolism of not looking the message, not looking an animal in its eyes, and Daniel, not Daniel Kaluuya, but Stephen Young, the reason he got killed is because, I mean, he spent so much time he spent all his years prying with the horses that he bought from Daniel Kaluuya's character. He spent so much time prying after this saucer thing that that was the end of his life. And instead of trying to overcome his trauma, he was trying to capitalize off of it, and that's what cost him his life. And Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer have excellent chemistry together, and I'd love to see them in more films together because they make a hell of a brother sister duo. Great cinematography, great direction, great performances overall. I love this film, and My number one film of 2022 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Great film. This was a roller coaster I didn't want to get off of. This is like one of those films that's that you had to see more than once. I saw everyone talking about this all over the internet, had no idea what it was. The only thing I knew was that Michelle Yeoh was in it, and I have like a massive crush on Michelle Yeoh. And I saw some behind the scenes stuff on, how certain things were on, like how they did certain stunts of the film. And I said, maybe I'll check this film out. I have no idea what it's about, but if Michelle Yeoh's in it, I'm going to watch it. And it was so weird, but I loved it. I'm still surprised it's not getting an Oscar nom for Best Costume Design, because the design costumes that they had, Stephanie, I believe is her name, that played the daughter. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Stephanie, who all the designs that she was wearing in the movie were amazing. The overall message of this movie, in my opinion, that the way I perceived it is that the life that you, while your life might not be perfect, the life that you dream of is not necessarily always going to make you happy. And it's one of those, like, grass isn't green on the other side. I like the all the performances are great. The action scenes were fun. I love the humor. Jamie Lee Curtis deserves a best supporting actress nom for this. I hope there's at least 6 Oscar nods for this film. Best actress, 2 for best supporting actress, best supporting actor, best director, and best picture. Best original, well, actually, 7 best original screenplay. I would say best costume design. That should get an Oscar nom, but I don't think it will, because I didn't see it being even considered, which is blows my mind. But I've seen this film like 5 times since it came out. Since it came out on physical media, I immediately got it. And this did a better job at time travel and dimension jumping than Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and it did a way better job explaining it. And this film is what Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness should have been. So yes, those are my 5 favorite films of this year. Now on to my five films I didn't like, or 5 films that disappointed me. Starting with number 5, Uncharted. Now, adapting video games into movies can be hit or miss. I mean, just look at the recent Mortal Kombat that came out. I wasn't a big Mortal Kombat guy growing up. I didn't really play a lot of those games, but there were just that didn't really pique my interest. Neither did the Sonic video game that came out. I mean, neither did the Sonic movie that came out in 2019, I believe, and a sequel's already coming out. But the problem with Uncharted was, I mean, Tom Holland definitely perfect casting, right choice. Very young, and he does. I think very athletic, so he definitely looks the part. The actress that plays Chloe in the film definitely looks like her video game counterpart. So that was great casting. Everything else, the, I'm not buying Mark Wahlberg as Sully at all. That's just, I don't know why they didn't make him older. They could have just casted, the blind guy that played him in a fan made version of Uncharted that came out on YouTube a few years ago. He played the blind guy in Don't Breathe. He was really good. They should have just casted an older actor for Sully. And everything else that was wrong with it was, while the action scenes were fun, the problem was that they took like bits of each story from all 4 games, put it in. put it into the movie, made an origin story out of it, and just took chunks and pieces out of, certain parts of the video game that were supposed to be in the film. It's like they didn't know what story they wanted to tell. I think Uncharted would be better as a TV series like The Last of Us that's going to come out next month. And yeah, this is a good popcorn flick, but this isn't a film that I would go back and rewatch. It was just okay. I didn't watch it in theaters. I saw it when it came out on Netflix. And yeah, it's just kind of But yeah, my number five, Uncharted. My number four is Stars at Noon. This is a A24 film, I believe. I think it's based on a book. I'm not too sure, but my issue with this film is that the pacing, the love interest seems like there's no chemistry between them at all, and this movie was just kind of boring. Like I was kind of I kept looking at my phone and being like, is it over yet? How many minutes do I have? And yeah, I don't didn't really care about this film at all. But yeah, my number four, Stars at Noon. My number three is Halloween Ends. Now, while a lot of people, I'm not, when I was younger, I would always watch the Halloween movies when AMC would show it, and I didn't watch Halloween Kills. In my opinion, I think the 2018 version of Halloween is the best one. The problem with Halloween Ends is that Michael Myers is barely in it. He's only in it for maybe like 15 minutes, but the he's not even like the main core villain. It's like this film feels more like a spin-off to Halloween as opposed to a Halloween film. Corey, who's the nerd that gets picked on that nobody gives a shit about, that's been done like 12 times. Like in a lot of movies or TV shows, whenever there's a nerd that gets picked on, they go crazy and start killing people or beating people up to where they end up in the hospital, and then the main protagonist has to has to, stop and help everybody and save the day and stuff. And which feels very repetitive and annoying. And yeah, I don't think nobody really cares about that, or at least I didn't. And yeah, this didn't feel like a Halloween film to me at all. Excuse me. But yeah, number three, Halloween Ends. Number two, I'm going with Black Adam. Now, while I wasn't excited about this film in at all, I went to see this with my brother, and they were I don't know what's happening with DC or what well just Warner Brothers in general. Excuse me, but this film was not it. I mean, the action scenes were okay, but I'm more of a Marvel guy. My brother is more of a I'm a Marvel guy. My brother's a DC guy. But I kept wondering, like, why the hell did Doctor Fate keep taking off his helmet? The best part, the best adaptation of Doctor Fate, in my opinion, is Young Justice. If you want to know who Doctor Fate is, just watch Young Justice, or just watch him in one of the Justice League series. That's ju- that's Doctor Fate. Doctor Fate. It feels like he is the second character, and the helmet is a part of him. It feels like the helmet is the main character, and it just felt like they downgraded his powers in this film. He didn't really feel as powerful or essential to the story like he should have been, along with the rest of the Justice Society. And I felt like Black Adam got outshined in his own film. The Justice Society, I cared more about them than Black Adam. Like, where do they come from? Why all of a sudden are they showing up? Where were they all along? You know, I mean, there were just a bunch of questions I had. The slow motion with Warner Brothers is very annoying. There was slow motion scenes in this film that didn't need slow motion. I felt like I was watching Zack Snyder's films all over again. And please stop doing the slow motion because it doesn't need to be done. The pacing was bad. The action scenes were okay, but and the villain was weak. But overall, this was kind of just like to me. I mean, it's a good kind of like Uncharted. It's a good popcorn flick, but other than the end credit scene with Henry Cavill, like which didn't amount to anything because he got canned as Superman again. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't know what's going on, but this film was not it. And my number one film for films that disappointed me this year is Don't Worry, Darling, directed by Olivia Wilde. This film is just a white Get Out. It's just Get Out, Inception, and The Truman Show all in one movie. It has that white savior trope. I really enjoyed Chris Pine and what's the actress's name? Oh, Florence Pugh's performance in this film. But other than that, it's just Get Out, but with a white woman. This film, I mean, the I like the tension in this film, but the sex scenes were really odd and out of place, and the controversy surrounding the film was better than the film itself. A lot of people crapped all over Harry Styles' performance, but I don't think he's a bad actor. I just think he needs more time to, get comfortable with, being in front of the camera. Of course he is. He's a celebrity, but I mean in regards to acting, and I think he needs more time to, just to study and get better overall. But there were even the scene where the black girl asked Florence Pugh's character for help, and she basically brushed her off until she took her own life. I was like, nah, hell no, f that. She asked you for help, and you ignored her. The only black girl in the movie, she ends her own life because you didn't listen to her, and now everyone's gaslighting you because I mean, yeah, this was just a mess. I do like the production design and the cinematography, but other than the performances from Florence Pugh and Chris Pine, but this movie was eh, it was bad. They kept building it up as like some Oscar nomination movie, but no, no. But yeah, those are my five films of this year that impressed me and five that disappointed me. Let me know what you guys thought of my list. If you agree or disagree, what did I leave off of the list? But don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.